Hello, this is Sandra Brown of Happiness Past 60. I'm out on my deck and it's September, what is today? Is it the 25th? I don't know, but it's Sunday. We went to church this morning and we came home and made a BLT. Mr. Bill had a taste for that. And one of the reasons is because, well, it's fast, but the other is because it's probably the last of the tomatoes, just about the last. I don't know if we're going to get one more sandwich out of them, at least not a big tomato. And I got to quit saying that. I just thought I'd have a chit chat with you today. And I thought of a lot of nonsensical things to talk to you about, but I thought I'd tell you a little bit about me, and maybe you might enjoy a story of something that happened to me when I was 4 years old. It's a really crazy story. My grandkids always love this. It's not funny when it happened, but it's kind of wild. I was born in Cedar Lake, Indiana, but raised in Hammond, Indiana. At this period of time, the story I'm going to tell you, I was I'll be 81 in December, but at this time, I was just 4 years old, and my grandfather owned a gas station in Hammond, Indiana, on Calumet Avenue. And above the gas station, there were two apartments. Grandpa and Grandma lived. It seems like Grandpa and Grandma always lived wherever we moved. We didn't own homes for years. My parents didn't. So we moved different areas to rent. And whenever we moved, they moved. So they were always near us. At this point, the upper part, the gas station was on the front part of the lower level. And the upper part, Grandma and Grandpa rented one side and we rented the other side. Sure wasn't any fancy accommodations, that's for sure. But I'm 4 years old and I was happy, and it's all I knew. And it was clean, very clean, and always homey. And Grandpa, I found out later, he didn't like, I don't think he even enjoyed his own kids. They were all afraid of him. And actually, I think I was the only child, from what they told me, that had ever sat on Grandpa's lap or that he had anything to do with. I can remember sitting on his lap and him singing a Christmas song about, I didn't have my speakers on. I'm going to turn them on right now for you, for those of you that complained about that I didn't have them on. Okay, I'm going to turn them on. Okay, they're on now. Let me know if that sounds any different when I put those speakers on, okay? But anyways, I remember him singing something about ho, 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 who wouldn't go up on the housetop, click, click, click. Down through the chimney came old Saint Nick. I remember him having a paper bag and a big wooden pencil, and I would sit on his lap and he would draw pictures for me. And I just thought they were so good. Either that or they just looked good to me when I was little, but I thought he did a great job. And I'm an artist now. Maybe I inherited something from Grandpa, who never had a chance, or probably didn't even know he had any talent if he did. But during this time, the story I'm going to tell you, the Indianapolis 500 races were going on. So this happened about 1947. I was born in 1942. And this is on an August day, very hot. I don't know why I was with them, where I was going, but we were on Route 41. And a lot of the cars were coming back from the races in Indianapolis. So traffic was pretty heavy, at least for those days, you know. The car that my grandfather was driving was, I know, I'm pretty sure it was a Ford. It was black. It had 4 doors, and they called them suicide doors because they opened like that in the back. And I remember it having like camel hair seats, and that there was a little window in the back with a kind of a shelf under it. And I remember being little, and I'd crawl up into that window, and it was just lay on my back and look at the sky go by or the cars behind me. I remember the back of the seats had a silver bar that they used to hang coats on. Okay, this is just what I remember at 4 years old. So, and I don't even know why I remember that, other than that this occurrence happened that I'm going to tell you about. Okay, so all I remember, oh, it's a hummingbird above my head. All I remember is, I remember what I was wearing. I was wearing a sundress that it was, the back was out. I think if you remember that, almost like that bib type thing that went over your head like an apron and tied in the back, and some sandals. So that's about it. Maybe a little pair of underwear. I was only 4. And there was no air conditioning, of course, in the cars in those days. And I remember saying to my grandmother, I said, Grandma, can I roll the window down? I'm hot. And I guess they said, okay. And when I went to roll the window down, I apparently got the wrong handle. I would love to see what those handles look like, or what the whole situation was. I was only 4, I don't know. But I grabbed the wrong handle, and it opened the door. Well, there were no seatbelts in those days. Never even heard of seatbelts. And I apparently was hanging on to the door, and the wind caught it, and the door flew open, and it threw me out onto the road. Well, that's not bad enough, but then the door shut. And they didn't know that I fell out. So I don't know how far down the road they went. I have no idea. Okay, now this is what I remember. I think I hit on my shoulder because I did have a like a skid mark scar on my left shoulder for a long time. It's so faded out now. I don't know. I have to see if it's still there. But I fell out of my shoulder, and I remember rolling on the road. And I remember that the road was hot because it's August. And I do remember knowing enough to standing up and looking around, and I was thinking, oh, I've got to get off of this road. You know? So, smart kid. So I remember getting up, and I walked to the side of the road. And then the next thing I remember about cars stopping, maybe 2 or 3 that I can remember cars stopped. And I remember a man picking me up, and he was holding me, and I wouldn't cry because I was embarrassed. I don't know what all happened. I do know I had lumps on my head, and my eye later on swelled shut. My knees and everything were all skinned up. I don't know what all happened. But in those days, you know, they don't take you to the doctor. They just take you home. But, and I was just not going to cry. Like, I was just kind of shy, And so then I heard one of people were all talking. They probably couldn't figure out what this little girl was standing on the side of the road, all bloody. They was probably thinking some kind of horrible stories, But one of the ladies said, "Get the iodine," and I remember thinking, "Oh, I know that stuff stinks." So I'm looking at the hummingbirds still; they're all over. But I was thinking, "Oh no, I know that stinks." And then now that made me cry. I remember, and I said, "I want my grandma and grandpa," And just about that time, I seen my grandfather and my grandmother running down the road towards me. I guess what happened was, and I just remember Grandpa taking me in his arms, and then they're heading back to the car quickly. I think they just put me in the back seat. I didn't ask to roll the windows down, though. I just stayed hot. But I don't remember any conversations. I remember Grandma saying later that they were in the car and she looked back and she didn't see me. And she says, "Oh my God, Daddy," I guess she called me. She goes, "Sandy Lee is gone." And he said, "Oh, she's not gone. She's probably just hiding from you." And she says, "No, she's gone." And she threw herself over the back seat and she hit her leg on that bar that I was telling you about, you hang on. And she always talked about that kind of messed her leg up for a long time. And I remember her saying she left her purse in the car and it was open, and then she had a lot of money in there. And it was something about had just come back from the bank. I don't know. I just remember that. I don't know what that was about. But they got me in the car and they took me home. I guess they cleaned me up. My mother was at bingo. She loved bingo, Mom did. And my middle brother, Neil, would always walk her home from the bingo game. So he was walking her home and he said, "Sandy Lee fell out of the car." And Mom said, "She did?" And he goes, "Yeah." And he didn't tell her the car was on Route 41 and about all that traffic coming back from those races. So I don't know what she said when she got home. And I don't know the rest of the story. But yeah, we do need seatbelts, don't we? But I would love to see that car. I don't know what. It was 47. I was, like I say, about 4 years old. So I don't know what year of the car would have been that Grandpa had. But I just do know he did have a running board. I do remember that. Okay, just thought you might enjoy that little story. It's sort of crazy. My grandkids always love that story. Hope you all have a good evening, and God bless all of you. Bye-bye.